This week on All Weekly's Telecast, lockdowns are still in session across the globe with variants germinating all over from California, United Kingdom, South Africa, Brazil, Poland, France, Belgium, even Kenya. Vaccination sites in Colorado shuts down because of the adverse reactions from the Johnson & Johnson shots. More than just a few have been suffering some sort of casualty of the adverse reaction. We'll get into that. And then Twitter wants to buy out Clubhouse for about $4 billion. Two companies are at talks with each other over this potential acquisition. And then you have global taxes that could crush small countries with economies, possibly in the small island developing states and developing countries. And then you have talks with Elon Musk about Neuralink that's coming. Elon Musk states that this technology developing will help out anyone suffering paralysis. They can use smart devices in order to operate their utilities. We also have coverage in entertainment segments, the PlayStation Store for the PlayStation Vita, the PlayStation 3, and the PlayStation Portable. They're closing down. Then you also have Satan's Shoes by Lil Nas X that's been sold out, but it's suffering some sort of backlash with Lil Nas X, where he's making a killing in music with his newest song, I think featuring X Monterio, Call Me By Your Name. Rick and Morty Season 5 is dropping this late June 2021. The Handmaid's Tale Season 4 is dropping exclusively on Hulu. And then you have James Gunn dropping his official release date and a trailer of the official The Suicide Squad. Then you have also Space Jam, A New Legacy with LeBron. I think they just dropped their official trailer. And then lastly, as well as Cruella, the second trailer drops. And we'll get right into those deets for this upcoming episode at All Weekly Telecasts. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm your trusted host, Shaquille D. Johnson. Welcome to the All Weekly Telecast. There's been some alarms, potential third waves and fourth waves in countries where it's shown lockdowns are more effective with keeping the numbers of cases of infected, keeping the numbers of cases of the infection at a low and bare minimum. Countries like France, Poland, and Canada are still imposing lockdowns. Canada's third wave is now more severe than the previous two, as hospitalizations are the critical care with spikes as vaccines being rolled out isn't likely to really change things over the next few upcoming weeks. Now, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stated during a press conference in Ottawa that this third wave is more serious and we need to hang in there for another few weeks to make sure that we can flatten the curve, drop those numbers down again, and give us a chance for the vaccine to take hold. Now, officials say that the province is close to its worst-case scenario projections for third wave. Dr. Ferser Tam, Canada's chief public health official, says that the vaccine rollouts will not slow the rapid growth in cases as more contagion variants they happen to spread throughout the country. And then speaking of prime ministers, let's have a brief look at the UK with the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, how he's rolling out his next steps as a roadmap to prudently reopen the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Johnson warns that surging case rates across Europe and the world means that it's too early to set a date for resuming international travel. He also confirms that pub, beer gardens, non-essential shops, and hairdressers would reopen, but he highly suggests that COVID testing and certificates could continue, say, beyond June. COVID certificates will not be something that's required when it comes to visiting pubs or, when you want to go shopping at a clothes line or retail store, somewhere around the April time right now or by late May. But there's a lot of uncertainty. So as these vaccines are being rolled out between the medium and longer term, we'll have to actually just wait and speculate. Likely to speculate, as well as vaccine trials are likely to commence for children, in the coming months. They're trying to actually really initiate this thing that's going to make it more safer for a lot of kids. Now, Johnson & Johnson's allocate that about 86% of vaccines themselves are across the United States. Now, there's also another headline where due to, I guess you could say, a contamination in the Baltimore factory, say around 15 million doses. Johnson & Johnson will have to actually be initiating or rolling out about 86% fewer doses across the United States within the upcoming weeks. The supplies with the Johnson & Johnson one-dose coronavirus vaccine is extremely limited until the federal regulators approve production at the Baltimore manufacturing plant. Main due to the behavioral pattern of having the quality control lapses that the White House's pandemic response coordinator said. I think he announced it just last weekend. With so many allocations of the company's vaccines set to plunge just about 86% this upcoming week now we're in, governors across the country warned that the losses of supplies that are being counted would definitely set back their vaccination drives, the whole plans and everything. We're trying to rephase things back in line with the whole situation of the pandemic. Now, federal officials said that Moderna and Pfizer, BioNTech, those are the other two federally authorized vaccine manufacturers. Those could be some sort of makeup for the shortfall of the limited supplies of the Johnson & Johnson's vaccine shortage. Federal officials also pointed out that some states were not currently using all the vaccines that's being distributed to them. Some state health officials also hope to use the Johnson & Johnson's one-shot vaccine, that's more easily stored, so they can target more of the college students and other, I guess you could say, other demographics that could be, offered up in a more mass production on sites and directing in rural areas that's more available to them. We're talking about things that's not really metro and city-like, but things that just communities themselves they can serve it out to. Instead of just shipping the doses of Johnson & Johnson next week. Now, Pfizer and BioNTech requested to the FDA authorization to use their vaccines within about the ages of between 12 to 15-year-olds. So they want to get the preteens or the adolescents, the youngest set of adolescents that could start, contributing with the immunization, for adults against the COVID-19, so they can move more to a normal future and phasing things out where people can actually feel more comfortable and not have to worry about the whole germination spread of the virus. Now, in order for health officials to achieve us to actually do this sort of herd immunity, they're aiming for where shots can be very much evenly reached in the arms of children and teenagers. Now, children aren't going to be vaccinated for the several months to come, at least. However, because drug makers are still testing shots in younger ages, this means that many health authorities couldn't be confident of securing community protection against the virus, where we'll be able to actually do the whole herd immunity. But this may take about, say, within the years to come, protection against the virus, for us in order to actually be successful with the herd immunity. So this may come within the later year to come, possibly as late as the end of 2021, mainly because of the whole age demographic and how we have more young people, adolescents, that makes up practically the majority of the global population. Now, there's also headlines when it comes to these adverse reactions as side effects when it comes to actually inoculating with the vaccines. We notice that there's a lot of sudden a rise of cases. I think even in France themselves, they say those who are under 55 who got the first AstraZeneca shot should follow up with a different vaccine. Now, there was this case about a few weeks back about the AstraZeneca vaccine where I think a lot of some patients, minority set of patients, have been going through some sort of blood clot adverse effects, more to the brain, if anything, in particular. So you have Europe's drug regulator that are constantly investigating these blood clot cases. And it's starting to actually also spur up with the Johnson & Johnson shot as well, but there's no clear link to it as of yet. And even if so, public health officials still maintain that the vaccines themselves outweigh the benefits of the risk without it to most people. Now, the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine has been deployed against COVID-19 in at least about 115 countries, some of them for several months now, but it wasn't until I think about a few cases of rare blood clotting disorder. So some of these have been fatally emerged within the past few months. So many nations within Europe have begun to start to reassess or rethink their uses of it throughout many of the age demographic groups, the usage. So they basically cease using them in many of Europe itself. Now, there are several countries themselves that are well stocked with alternate vaccines, and many other countries that haven't for the time being are looking for those options to be well stocked with other vaccines, aside from just the AstraZeneca itself being distributed. And And even in some European nations, they have like altogether like ceased using the AstraZeneca vaccine until further usage. They have not really deferred, saying that they have no interest in using it anymore. Just for the time being, they want to further investigate and make sure that the links to these, I guess you could say, blood clot cases, we want to make sure it's not going to be something that's actually an adverse effect that's going to drastically harm a lot of human beings, or a lot of patients that are going to be taking these shots, lining up to take up these shots. Germany, the Netherlands, the Philippines, Portugal, Spain, they've all been recommended that the AstraZeneca vaccine will be given to people, I'd say like over 60. Canada and France have limited to those over age 55. Australia over the age of 50. Belgium over the age of 56. Like Britain, also and so forth. This is where the AstraZeneca vaccine has been well developed. I think it was something manufactured in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, according to like Global News. They released like the component itself. Now, there's been where it's shown a lot of data itself where it's the most staunchest like defender against the COVID-19. Now, they're also looking, many health officials throughout other countries are also looking to other alternative shots to people under the age of 30 for recommendation use for protection against the COVID-19. Now, Denmark and Norway have stopped using the vaccine, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, they've also delayed the start of its inoculation program with the AstraZeneca. Now, full vaccination with the AstraZeneca vaccine requires about 2 doses. See, that's like every month, basically, and in a month itself, you got to go take another shot. But regulators in France, however, have recommended that people under the age of 55 who have gotten their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, they highly recommend that you get like a different vaccine as a second shot. Now German health officials have recommended the same for people under the age of 60. That's something I find very particular, that you want to do some sort of experimentation for people where they're actually using a different code of vaccine itself as a second shot injection. Following. I find that something very interesting. A lot of people should probably basically highlight a little bit on. If anything, why even use if you're using the AstraZeneca shot itself? Why not actually use something following that same shot? But if not, then cheapest to just go with Pfizer itself, where we can actually just use the Johnson & Johnson shot itself, and just basically go from there. What is something the public themselves should also be aware of is that the AstraZeneca vaccine is not authorized for use in the United States, but the company has said that it would seek Food and Drug Administration for review, or the FDA itself for review of approval, and that's from under the CDC itself. Now, on Wednesday, the European Medicines Agency said that the vaccine's labeling should be revised to include the clotting disorder as a very rare side effect of the vaccine. Europe's drug regulator said on Friday that it is reviewing, I think, rare blood clots in 4 people in the United States who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So Johnson & Johnson vaccine also has this sort of adverse side effect. I think you even had a few persons who had took some vaccine shots and they had come across this, including in the Bahamas itself. There was some sort of physician who also accounted how he had an adverse side effect as well, and he needed to seek medical treatment before it became even fatal. These are something that's being very well looked into with the other health officials, I think, with the Bahamas government. Just like with Europe's regulator, that they came out with a statement, I think at the beginning of the weekend that just passed, that they're reviewing the rare blood clots in 4 people in the United States who received the Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine, compared to the AstraZeneca vaccine with their cases in blood clots, which is, again, linked to the brain itself, the blood clot. Talk about popping the blood vessel. Now, Europe's Medicine Agency's Safety Committee has also been looking at how the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is associated with these very rare cases of unusual blood clots. And they are constantly reviewing the reports of this sort of capillary leak syndrome in people giving AstraZeneca vaccine shots, and as well potentially the Johnson & Johnson shots as well. Johnson & Johnson has came out with a statement saying that they're aware of these rare reports of blood clots, brain blood clots, in individuals giving its COVID-19 shots, and that they're working diligently with regulators to assess the data and provide this sort of relevant information to the public. Now, the same goes for the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Nearly, I think, about 5 million people in the United States, they have received their Johnson & Johnson vaccines as, I think, just late like first, second week of April. And this is according to the CDC itself, or Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention. And these go according to reports with Europe's medicine agency, as they're the first to mention a probe of blood clots associated with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been disclosed. The FDA itself said that it was aware of the EMA's statement, and they provided the agency with the data that formed the basis of its reports with the brain blood clots. Now, the EMA statement follows an investigation of the brain blood clots that's been reported by some people granted the AstraZeneca vaccine shots. This had led to prompting some of the European countries to change their vaccine recommendations. However, Johnson & Johnson's single-dose vaccine has been approved by the EU for safe use, but as the rollout has yet to initially take place, it's mainly being used just in the United States currently. But it does raise the concern as that for some people who want to understand, does this mean that I can travel after getting vaccinated? Now, many health officials have come out with a statement and allow people to understand that it takes time as vaccines take place with the building up herd immunity, especially before you take your second shot dose, if it's not a Johnson & Johnson's, so that it can be more effective. This doesn't necessarily mean that the COVID-19, it takes time before a vaccine itself take effect with building up herd immunity, especially before you take your second shot, if it's from a vaccine to be more effective. That's being with AstraZeneca and not the Johnson & Johnson's single-dose shot jab. Now, this doesn't mean that the COVID vaccine is 100% effective, just about 95% effective at preventing symptomatic infections, as well as the minority of those that may have adverse reactions, which are hence side effects. Now, according to World News, we need about 80% of the global population to be vaccinated. And with many adverse reactions with the vaccines, they're starting to just on the rise, like insane. It's even when it comes to France, they've said anyone who's under the age of 55, they outweigh the risk for most people. The AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine has been deployed against COVID-19 in about 100. Now, there's a lot of buzz with the return of tourism as countries within the Caribbean gear up for cruisers and more travelers. Now, Royal Caribbean is experiencing boycotts as there are many mandatory orders for cruisers to embark when it comes to their vacations. You got so many different cruisers where it's they're saying they're loving cruises, but when it comes to that mandatory force of being vaccinated and still having to wear a mask and social distance, it's ruined the experience for them. You have another cruiser who they're saying no thanks. They've been on 19 cruises, and since their last one, they'll figure to spend their money and vacation time elsewhere, basically. It came to it's come to the concern of a doctor named Simone Gould. She also has concern when it comes to the critique of just the whole COVID-19 vaccine, and that she'll be passing on actually getting on board with the whole cruise lines. So she's practically boycotting Royal Caribbean as well. A former Royal Caribbean customer also doesn't agree when it comes to the vaccines and the face mask wearing and the social distancing mandates. They, and quote unquote, stating that social distancing ruins the entire cruise experience, and that's just from an interview from them on Facebook. She also continues how we will not be getting vaccinated anytime soon, if ever, she says. And that she doesn't agree with the company making this mandatory for many employees to be vaccinated with this experimental vaccine. However, many of these Facebook comments and tweets have seemingly been based on a glaring mistake, as Royal Caribbean never implemented a company-wide COVID-19 vaccine mandate for all of its future guests. Royal Caribbean currently has several health protocols in place ahead of its major return to sailing. So these include where you have to do social distancing, you have to have mask wearing mandate, and you have to also be having robust testing, especially when it comes to quarantining guidelines for crew members. But in regards to the vaccines, Royal Caribbean, including its Celebrity Cruises brand, has only announced five fully vaccinated summer cruises so far. Now, while crew members are required to be vaccinated before sailing as a return, the cruise giant has not implemented a sweeping COVID-19 vaccine mandate for all of its future guests. And this is coming from a Royal Caribbean spokesperson, as they claim and state that we're following the science and medical advice, and we want to do what's best for our guests. We want to do what's best for our passengers and crew, and obviously the committees that we visit as well. And this is according to Yahoo Finance. And speaking of vaccines, there's been about 13 people into a vaccination site in Colorado where they've also had adverse reactions to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It since led their operations to a cease and just being shut down for that whole day, as reports have been said. The vaccination efforts was being sponsored by the state of Colorado and Censura Health. More than about 600 people were with appointments that same Wednesday, and they were unable to receive their vaccinations after the early closure. People with appointments were turned away, and they had to reschedule that same following week. This was reports under the New York Post. And to finish off with some tech news, Bloomberg comes out with reports on how Twitter actually held the talks with Clubhouse over a potential acquisition of this live drop-in audio networking platform. The deal was somewhere of an estimate of around $4 billion itself. Clubhouse was seeking to raise a new round of funding at a valuation of about $4 billion. The talks spurred, but as soon as rumors started to surface, the deal was just running all hush-hush. However, the irony is that the personal data of the about millions of users on Clubhouse itself was leaked, online on a popular hacker forum, according to Cyber News. Clubhouse tweeted that Clubhouse has been breached or hacked, as it was said, and the data referred to is all public profile information from the app, which anyone can access via the App Store or just through their API, which is the Application Programming Interface. Now, the invite-only social media app launched in, I think, last year, March 2020, as it's grown so much in popularity, and it has basically attracted millions of users, practically 1.6, 2 point, something around that, millions of users. So its audio community allows users to tune in conversations. Now, for those of you who don't really know Clubhouse is and you're just starting to hear it, it's just basically this sort of audio platform where it has an audio community that allows users to tune in on conversations or join rooms about various topics that they can have a discussion about. The platform itself is basically where invite only. So for those of you who are Apple iOS users, they have access to this. People in them, I guess, when it comes to just iOS, they have a Mac, then that's completely different. If you're Android, then no, it doesn't have that available for the time being. They have a sort of botch up access one where you could do it with the Android. However, when it comes to that unknown source of downloading the software, it could lead you to a backdoor where hackers themselves can get into your information. So, but for right now, officially, it's just available on the Apple App Store. And not only just for Clubhouse, but there's also been personal data of the 500 million LinkedIn users. Not only Clubhouse being hacked, but also LinkedIn as well. When it comes to their 500 million users, about 2/3 of the platform user base, they were scrapped and listed online for sale when it comes to their personal information. So for those of you who are around practically 300-400 million users, your information is out there. People are just buying it out. Now, a spokesperson from LinkedIn confirmed from insiders that I think that they said there was indeed a data set posted of public information that was scrapped from its platform, and hackers are attempting to sell the data for a 4-digit sum, potentially online or in sort of a form of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So those of you out there that are going to get contacted by a lot of bots, or you're going to be bot called, prepare yourself for those cold calls or change your number. Just like those other paranoid narcs that they think that the world is actually after them. Unless you're a pirate, then that's a different story, but just prepare yourself for a lot of those cold calls. Security researchers told insiders that hackers could use the exposed data to impersonate those users or scam other users in revealing their sensitive login information. So when it comes to them actually using stuff like your Visa card, your Masters, your debit, when it comes to even your cryptocurrency, anything like those, they can actually get in and retrieve that information from you. And now for global news itself. And now there's something of a concern for many globalists out there when it comes to like World Bank itself. World Bank chief expressed their concern that the high minimum tax rate that they propose for businesses would impede ability of developing nations to attract investments. And for many globalists out there that have concerns, you have like I think like the group of 20 or G20 finance ministers and central bank governors. They added this sort of impede to plan some sort of like global corporation tax, by the mid-year of 2021. They have a commitment in reaching out. I think the World Bank chief, they've expressed their concerns that this high minimum tax rate that could be proposed, that many businesses would have to basically be committed and having the ability of like paying their taxes. I guess basically when it comes to like developing nations, it's going to attract more, investment opportunities that many of them happen to see the sort of like, I guess you could say, original intent, a target achievement. So I guess you could say that the sooner they're able to adopt this global minimum tax rate, the better it'll be for many developed countries themselves, especially when they don't have things to offer like excessive tax incentives to attract more investors in their countries, like Indonesia, for an example. I think, hold on a second, let me make sure I get this right. Bimma Yudhishthira Adhinagara, god damn. These also agreeing that the sooner that this actually takes place, the more better that'll be for them in their country, in Indonesia. By imposing a minimum global tax rate, countries hope to stem the loss of tax revenues to other jurisdictions with lower rates. So after the mounting costs of the pandemic, when it comes to so much of debt, they're going to need those certain access to funds more than ever, because the extended debt that's actually going to be coming at the post-pandemic of the COVID. Developed nations and many developing nations are going to be ones that are going to be benefiting from this the most, because many developing countries, members of the G20, they have moderately higher taxes, which would also provide them greater protection for their revenue, according to David Dollar. He's a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute in Washington. He was formerly the head of the World Bank in China. Now, Akshay Mathur is the head of the Geoeconomic Studies program at the New Delhi-based Observer Research Foundation. They came out stating that these latest propositions are very well aligned with India's objectives. Now, it may be difficult to reach an agreement on the level of taxes. I think even the Biden administration, they proposed it about, around 21% minimum global corporate tax, which is just insane, which is much higher than the 12.5% discussed in recent years by the Paris-based Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, which is based in Paris. In Europe, I think you have the same with like Germany and France, which have among the highest corporate tax rates in the European Union, or the EU. And they've clashed over the years with smaller members of the EU. That's from Hungary, Ireland, Cyprus, which uses lower taxes to lure more investment opportunities. Now, the Irish finance minister, Paschal Donohoe, he said at a news conference on Tuesday that he has reservations about a global minimum tax rate. Same when it comes to South Korea. Meanwhile, with South Korea, there's remains of non-committal towards the plan. The nation is trying to be more prudent as they take into account the fallout on the competitiveness and investment opportunities. So this is something that came out with the Vice Finance Minister, Lee Og, or Weon. I think he told the journalist that on Wednesday. Came out with that statement on the journalist. Now, World Bank Chief David Malpass also has reservations, telling the BBC, British Broadcast Corporation, that he didn't want to see new rules that would inhibit poor countries, ability to track investments, So the 21% minimum proposed by the US, he finds it striking as very high, as he's also considered that failing to reach a deal would lead nations to slug it out amongst themselves. And there's already an ugly battle between nations over these so-called digital service taxes, which they're trying to impose real soon. So look out for that. Many of you out there who has their own digital like platform, wherever. So yeah, look out for those. Now, anger in European countries over American tech giants that earn revenue in their markets without paying taxes has prompted some nations to impose or threaten these digital service tax. So what that just means is because of so many digital services out there that's like so just broadened throughout the entire planet and there's no regulations to it, it's caused many of the governments to have to impose the taxes on this kind of thing. So for many of you out there as entrepreneurs who are trying to like really bump up more in the digital service, you better figure it out really fast, really quickly. And those of you who are leading into it, you definitely want to make the service much more better while having also concern about the government intervention that's to come about the taxations that they're going to have on digital services. This would, in turn, be something that prompts retaliatory threats from the United States. It would be such an escalation with individual countries trying to impose their own digital taxes. It's like a nightmare situation is what many of the finance officials are coming out with, that they would say that they would forecast that to do business globally at an incredible capacity would be much difficult and like costly. And this is something that Peter Vail, a tax partner at the Grant Thornton in Dublin. For now, the momentum towards finalizing a deal appears to be very strong, even as governments are busy battling this pandemic. Much haggling is inevitable in the months ahead, as there's so much negotiation in the process where they're striving to strike a balance for nations that can be vastly at different stages of development when it comes to this global corporation tax, which is, I find, just insane. And this is something you can find quite heavily in references to the Yahoo Finance, from Yahoo Finance or even China, South China. And now to conclude our 120 rundown within the last week, Prince Philip has unfortunately passed away in Windsor Castle. He has died at the age of 99. May he rest in paradise. He was the husband of Queen Elizabeth II, current queen in reign today. The pandemic has left clinical trials on hold, where fewer clinical trials are being completed during the pandemic. Health experts state that this could affect medical researchers for decades to come as a setback. It was reported that more than 80% of clinical trials were suspended last year in 2020. Researchers from Penn State College of Medicine examined more than about 100,000 in trials in the United States, Europe, and Asia, and other regions to find out how the pandemic has affected clinical research. The pandemic had less of an impact on clinical trials in some parts of the world. However, for an example, where you had Egypt had an increase in both their submitted and completed clinical trials when it comes to the vaccine or vaccination process, which is most likely due to a recent law governing medical research, according to researchers. Now, the thing, I guess, when it comes to that sort of thing is that because of so many of the different variations, the variants, the unforeseen and unprecedented outcomes, it's causing so much, I guess you could say, interference when it comes to the clinical trials where they can actually have these vaccines available for people, where some or many human beings who don't have a really strong, well-built immune system, they can't really battle this sort of virus. So they're going to need some of those, I guess you could say, vaccines themselves. That's going to actually really be something that's a safeguard or protect them against the whole virus that's actually coming at them and affecting them and could fatally cause them to be ill, or being ill fatally. Now, there are also, again, like I mentioned in our previous episode, that where you've had someone like Patrick Soon-Shiong, a multi-billionaire himself and a doctor, an actual billionaire that's a doctor, is in the works of manufacturing many, I guess you could say, pill or capsules of vaccines that people can just ingest. You can just take one down and that's about it, just a pill, you're good. You're vaccinated, you don't have to actually worry about taking an injection shot, a jab, or even inoculated. You don't got to worry about anything like that. You take the pill itself and you're good to go. Don't know how the process will be, but it is something of interesting. So this is good news for many people who can really be behind. Now, Facebook itself is also labeling pages as satire to help with confusion on misinformation or social media influencers that may be misleading their audiences on breaking topics. Facebook has tweeted coming out with a statement saying that we're gradually starting to apply labels, including public officials, fan pages, satire pages to post in their news feeds so people can better understand who they're coming from, Facebook has tweeted. And this is according to Twitter itself or CNBC. You can find many reference of data from. I think as I am starting to see Facebook do many of those changes, they're trying to really crack down more on actually the misinformation what people are doing online, because it's very, 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 very critical and dangerous when it comes to having people consume so much content. And it's content that's actually very endangering for a lot of people, whether they would may be aware of it or may not, that supports a certain agenda that will actually set us back when it comes to the progress of many like science and technology we're doing for our humanity. Facebook has come out with some certain updates. I'm starting to see myself where they're labeling now on which country you're from. They'll happen to see that from many users and consumers. They're going to see that label. They're going to understand your label of your page itself, if it's something satire, if it's something actually legit, or if it's something that they can consider as like you're an influencer, or you're an actual certain title that you claim yourself to be, of an entrepreneur, a technologist, anything like that matter, where you're getting much of that fan base that's actually resonating with you. Now, PlayStation is also, again, shutting down the PlayStation 3, the Vita store. Sony has confirmed that it will be shutting down the PlayStation store and the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Portable by the 2nd of July, 2021. The PlayStation store for the Vita, I think it's by August 27th of 2021. This is according to the email that they sent out to many of their PlayStation customers. Additionally, their multi-platform cross-buy purchases are still possible, meaning users can still buy the content that's available to both the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and PlayStation Portable. Players can still be able to access their content through their download list on the library in retrospect to their devices. Sony has also specified that these store closures will not affect any users, PlayStation Now subscriptions, or any of their access to the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation Vita. Titles they've claimed, like in the past to up to now, while it's available, and you're able to even re-download it as long as the PlayStation Plus membership remains current. PlayStation Plus last month, as long as the PlayStation Plus remains, current, like as long as you have access to PlayStation Plus, basically. But other than that, yeah, I think it looks pretty. I think it's something great. I think a lot of people themselves have basically just, it's great that you still have like some of your old content games. So all of it just means that PlayStation just saying that you have all access to all of your old content, as long as you have it downloaded. But if you didn't get it before while it was there on the store, it's no longer, you're not going to have access to it. You probably get it on the PlayStation Now. You probably get it on that. And why not? Because, you get to stream all of it. It's not like you're going to play all those games anyways, Like, most of us don't really go back to playing all the old video games, play all the new ones currently. We don't really go back a generation. Now, if we want to, we can do stuff like emulators, or we can do stuff like just go on PlayStation Now and stream the games and call it a week, You just go about it like that. But it's still nice that at least they give you access to all the old stuff you downloaded, so you can go back on it, and it's cross-play compatible between your PlayStation 4 and 5. And now some entertainment headlines. You got Rick and Morty that came out with their season 5 dropping. This is something that's very much like anticipated, that I think many of us can really say get behind. It's been like 4 seasons since, and the adventures between the two have been very incredible. It's gone to certain lengths where you wouldn't even anticipate or expect. And I think it's something really great that's really well fitting for the fan base and the community of the Rick and Morty universe and their adventures. Who knows where it's going to lead off from Sense, spoiler alert, from Sense where Rick himself had to decide between his 2 daughters of what happened to them. He had to decide which journey they're going to take, whether one has to stay with their family or the other one has to go seek their adventure and fulfill their life. But instead, he really couldn't make a decision for Beth, so he just basically had to do what he had to do. And the season had ended of what happened in that climax. We still don't know what happened to evil Morty. It's so many questions still to be answered, and there's so many more adventures to come that, based on the preview, I think it's really, really great. You see Dog World that's back inside that trailer, so we're going to be seeing Schnuffles real soon. We see this sort of satire Aquaman, what's happening there. That looks very something else. That's top of the line right there. That's very interesting, how Rick's going to deal with that. And then maybe this fitting, now I don't know if this is either the beginning or it's maybe the season finale, where you're actually seeing Rick and Morty possibly fending off with the Sanchez family, or was it Summer? Like, what do you call it? Hold on. What family is he exactly now? I'm trying to actually recall. I don't know which. But I think for whatever they call themselves, I don't know. But the whole point is Rick and his family are facing off against the other family. So whatever happening now, I don't know if it's another universe or he cloned them or something along the line must have happened. So can't wait to see what's happening for that season. So yeah, Rick and Morty is coming out this approaching end of Easter. Lil Nas X has been trending since his controversial Satan shoes that's hot on the market. I'm hearing a lot works. Everyone's saying they're very proud of it. I think they went sold out. I think for Lil Nas X, that's really great. You know, he's doing success what he does. Even though his preference of like, you know, what he's into is like, you know, he's homosexual, whatever like that. That's cool for him, whatever like that. I'm glad that many of his fan base is supporting him. They bought his shoes and everything like that. It's interesting how a lot of people said that an employee actually put their blood, literally their blood, aside from sweat, into the shoes, you know, that was made. So it's something that's really sparked a lot of controversy for a lot of people. Many aren't really on board for it, but it's diehard fans, core base fans really are supporting the stuff. It sold out, so it was pretty good. This is good for Lil Nas X. And his hot song came out, Call Me By Your Name, which is just like trending weeks straight on since. Just weeks straight on, like it's literally top three, and it's still trending right now. If you check it out on Spotify or Apple Music, I think Amazon Music too, maybe. Yeah, but you guys let me know your thoughts about that. And the hot exclusive of The Handmaid's Tale season 4 is dropping. It looks amazing, you know, to continue the epic journey. I think with like the main protagonist, I think her name is Offred or whatever like that. She's basically narrating that kind of stuff. It's from a hot, solid novel where we're told about her entire story from her point of view, you know, experiencing events and memories that's been vivid as she can remember. It's like it was a best-selling novel by Margaret Atwood, you know, but yeah, it's basically a whole totalitarian society and what used to be part of the United States. Now you have like, I think this person named Gilead, one of the main characters, you know, is ruled by, or I think you had the state like Gilead, which was ruled by the fundamentalist regime that threats women as property of the state or something like that, and it's faced off like an environmental disaster. I don't know. It's basically what what's that thing called the hunting game, something like that. Think of it like just end of the world, you know, post apocalypse. It looks interesting. I'd say give it a watch. You know, I haven't got a chance to watch it, so I can't really say much about it. But the trailer dropped, so it looks pretty cool. You know, it looks pretty very cool. I'd say like to hear your thoughts out there in the comment section. What do you guys think? Let's see how it goes. Yeah, so for many of you fans out there, get ready because it's dropping the end of April 28th, 2021. So that's not far off. And James Gunn dropped the Suicide Squad. It's released official date August 6th, 2021. It looks very amazing. It's dropping on HBO Max and in films. It wouldn't even be a question of why anyone's going to watch it in films or whatever, but it looks very amazing. You see the shark dude. You see King Shark's there. You see, boy, I don't remember all of them. Sidris, or whatever his name is, it's that actor. Oh my God, I'm so bad, I know. But he's acting in it as well. John Cena is coming in, said a hell of a statement now. It's like, wow, okay, yeah, he's really got that comedy right there. Of the whole conversation they had between him and the other main character in there. Harley Quinn's back, so you know what, Margot Robbie, like, she's really giving a killing. Let me get your boy Boomerang. Can't sleep on him. The whole squad looks very amazing. So this is going to be quite the epic sort of turn of events. We don't know what to really expect. This is James Gunn's film. He's really rocking this. So let's look forward to see how this film is going to turn out. But it looks amazing. I can't really say much. It's Suicide Squad. That's enough said. Come on. And then you have Space Jam just dropped their trailer too. Just to wrap up on it in a sense, really, it looks interesting. Could be very fun. It might be just a fun sort of like film to watch. It's got LeBron James, King James, that's now participating. So it's Space Jam, a new legacy. The trailers drop. I don't know. It could probably be fun. It probably might flop. Who knows? I'm wondering if my own thing is this canonical, or is this like a retelling, or is this something that's actually like that's what I'm looking for? Kind of a new version, like a different universe of the outlook of what Space Jam is all about in the Warner Brothers world of the Looney Tunes and stuff. You know, like how is that going to pan out? I'm curious about, like, are they going to mention that they've had a guy in the past before, where he went to their world. Now James is actually in their world. However, that sucker actually came in place. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something very interesting. So we'll see how it is. And all he's going to do is just basically get his son back, you know, fighting against these OP characters that, you know, about to go against. But then again, Granny being in there, you know what I'm talking about, Granny and Tweety, yeah. She's about to drop some fire. I don't know. When I saw it, I was like, okay, no, they're good. They got an OP character as it is. She just dropped some fire on them. So we'll see how this turns out. Might be fun. I did enjoy the first Space Jam movie as a kid. It was pretty cool because it's Michael Jordan. I don't like it how just because they're just doing a retelling or a different tale because of, like, you know, of LeBron's in it. I was like, I don't know, maybe if it was like the ghost of Kobe, sure, you know, like that probably give me more hype. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good telling. Who knows? Might be a very fun film. And then lastly, you have the second trailer that dropped of Cruella. You know, yeah, the lady from 101 Damnation. Okay. With Emma Watson. I think it looks great. I think it looks amazing. There's really much to be said. The trailer looks very spectacular. I don't know if they're trying to go for the Joker, you know. Yeah, I don't know. But I think it's going to be very much of an interesting film. I think it's going to do the character very much justice. Such a shame how she turns out an event in the current film. But for this kind of prequel, I'm definitely down just to see how this is going to pan out. I think it's really good. I've never seen where we're in an era now where we're actually rooting for many antagonists to see the origins of their story of how they came to be. Not even as an antagonist, but as a villain, you know? She's more in the terms of an antagonist for Joker. No, Joker's a straight up villain. That's not even an antagonist. I don't know what you call that. You got like Venom out, you got Joker out, you got they're trying to make films for like Deathstroke. What's that dude named The Rock Johnson's gonna be acting in Shazam? That guy, Dr. Adam or something like that. Like they're getting their own film. You'd be like, what? Like how was it Deadpool? You know, those are antagonists. They're redeemable. But for a villain like Joker, Venom's redeemable, so we'll give that a pass. Cruella, yeah, she's redeemable. So that's an antagonist kind of story. But we're in this kind of era where we're seeing more of those come in place. So I can't wait to see more of the telling of tales that someone even like Disney themselves are actually toying with more characters like this. So this is very much of a film to look forward to. And last minute segment, we have to honor the passing of DMX himself. He passed away at the age of 50. It's very much of an unfortunate thing. You know, may he rest in paradise as well. You know, much shouts to him and his music. I really wanted to anticipate to see him be featured on Rick and Morty. You know, Rick and Morty did that little short segment of him, you know, in a puppet world of DMX, of him being, well, actually, no. Now I think about it, they didn't reference him to be featured on the show. They referenced the cough syrup being featured on the show. But it still would have been amazing if he could have got on that, because they got Ice-T featured on the show. Not that it was Ice-T himself. They could have got someone like DMX in the future. I was waiting for that, but it was unfortunate. Everybody right now is just playing his music and giving him much tribute. So much tribute to the great DMX himself. You know, may he rest in paradise and continue on with greatness. But yeah, I think that's just about it, guys. We'll keep you posted if there's any more of the latest coverages on Telecast. So what do you think about content? Do you like it? Do you love it? Or you just feel like it's like, it could get better? We'd like to hear from you guys. You know, we would love to hear from you guys. So if you could just please comment below, you know, give your reaction, you know. Thank you guys so much again just for tuning in and supporting us. I'm Shaquille D. Johnson, your trusted host, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.